Every month, millions of people face the exact same financial question without even realizing it. They get paid, look at their bank account, and wonder what to do with the extra money left over after paying the bills. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $200, maybe it's $500. Whatever the amount, the question remains the same. Should that money go toward paying off debt, or should it go into savings and investments? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. Some people will tell you to pay off debt immediately. Others will say you should start investing as soon as possible. The truth is that both sides have valid arguments, which is why so many people feel confused. Today, we're going to break down the real math behind debt versus savings and figure out which one actually changes your future faster. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine you have $10,000 of credit card debt with a high interest rate. At the same time, you also have $500 available every month that could either go toward paying down that debt or building savings. What should you do? To answer that question, we first need to understand how debt works. Debt is not just a balance sitting on a statement. Debt has a cost. Every month that debt remains unpaid, interest is added. The lender is charging you for the privilege of borrowing money. If your credit card charges 24% interest, that debt is growing much faster than most people realize. Even while you're making payments, interest is constantly working against you. This is where many people get trapped. They make the minimum payment every month and assume they're making progress. Technically, they are, but often much of the payment goes toward interest instead of reducing the balance. Imagine pouring water into a bucket with a large hole in the bottom. You keep adding water, but the bucket never seems to fill.
That's how high-interest debt works. You're putting money in, but interest keeps pulling money out. The result is that debt can stay around for years longer than expected. Now, let's look at the savings side. If you put $500 into a savings account every month, your balance grows steadily. The account might earn a small amount of interest, but the real benefit isn't the return. The real benefit is protection. Savings create a financial cushion. They allow you to handle emergencies without borrowing money. If your car breaks down, you can pay for the repair directly. If a medical expense appears, you can cover it without reaching for a credit card. Savings don't just grow money, they prevent future debt. This is why emergency funds are so important. Many people think investing should come before savings because investing offers higher returns. But if you don't have emergency savings, even a small unexpected expense can force you into debt. A $500 car repair can easily become a $1,000 problem once credit card interest gets involved. An emergency fund acts like a financial shield. It protects your future from becoming more expensive. Now, let's compare the math. Suppose your credit card charges 24% interest. At the same time, your savings account earns 4%. Every dollar used to pay off that debt is effectively saving you 24% annually. That's a guaranteed return. Very few investments can offer that level of certainty. In other words, paying off high-interest debt is often mathematically equivalent to earning a very high investment return. This is why many financial experts recommend eliminating high-interest debt before focusing heavily on investing. The math is simply too powerful. If your debt is costing you 24% while your savings earn 4%, the debt is winning.
Every day that debt remains unpaid, it continues working against you. Paying it off removes a financial obstacle that's slowing everything else down. However, there is an important exception. Completely ignoring savings while attacking debt can also create problems. Imagine putting every extra dollar toward debt and leaving yourself with no emergency fund. Then your car breaks down. Suddenly, you're forced to use a credit card again. Now you've created new debt while trying to eliminate old debt. That's why many people follow a balanced approach. They build a small emergency fund first, then aggressively attack high-interest debt. Let's say you save $1,000 as an emergency fund. That money sits there, protecting you from unexpected expenses. Once that safety net exists, you direct the majority of extra cash toward eliminating debt. As debt disappears, something interesting happens. Your monthly cash flow improves. The payments that once went toward debt are now available for other goals. This is where financial momentum begins. Imagine you've been sending $500 every month toward debt. Eventually, the debt reaches zero. Suddenly, you have an extra $500 available every month. But now there's no lender taking that money. Instead of paying interest, you can start building wealth. The same cash flow that once kept you trapped becomes a tool for financial growth. This is where investing enters the conversation. Once high-interest debt is eliminated and an emergency fund is established, investing becomes incredibly powerful. Investments have something called compound growth. Compound growth means your money begins earning money, and then that money begins earning even more money. Over time, the growth accelerates. At first, the results seem small. Then they become significant. Eventually, they can become life-changing.
The key difference between debt and investing is direction. Debt compounds against you. Investing compounds for you. Debt makes future money worth less because part of it is already promised away. Investing makes future money worth more because assets are generating additional value. Both involve compounding, but one works as a headwind while the other works as a tailwind. Let's compare two people. The first person ignores debt and focuses entirely on investing. The second person builds an emergency fund, eliminates high-interest debt, and then begins investing. At first, the first person may appear to be ahead because they started investing earlier. But if high-interest debt remains in the background, the interest charges continue eating away at progress. The second person may spend some time paying off debt, but once the debt is gone, every dollar works more efficiently. This doesn't mean all debt is bad. Some debts have relatively low interest rates. A mortgage, for example, often has a much lower rate than a credit card. In those situations, the math can be different. But when it comes to high-interest consumer debt, the numbers are usually very clear. High-interest debt acts like a financial emergency that keeps repeating every month. One of the biggest mistakes people make is treating debt and savings as completely separate issues. In reality, they're connected. Savings prevent debt. Debt prevents savings. The two constantly influence each other. That's why successful financial plans don't focus on only one side. They create balance. Build emergency savings, eliminate expensive debt, then invest consistently. The psychological benefits are just as important as the mathematical benefits. Living with debt creates stress. Every payment reminder feels like pressure. Every statement feels like a setback. On the other hand, savings create confidence. Knowing you can handle unexpected expenses changes the way you think about money. Financial stability isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about reducing anxiety and increasing freedom. Another important factor is behavior. Many people know what they should do, but struggle to follow through. That's because personal finance isn't purely mathematical. It's emotional. Some people gain motivation from seeing debt balances disappear. Others gain motivation from watching savings grow. The best strategy is often the one you can stick with consistently. Financial freedom isn't created by one giant decision. It's built through thousands of small decisions repeated over time. Choosing to save a little more, choosing to spend a little less, choosing to avoid unnecessary debt, choosing to invest consistently. None of these actions seem dramatic on their own, but together they create extraordinary results. So, who wins in the battle between debt and savings? The answer is both, but in the right order. First, build a small emergency fund. Second, eliminate high-interest debt. Third, invest consistently for the long term. That sequence gives you protection, flexibility, and growth. It prevents emergencies from creating new debt while allowing your money to eventually start working for you instead of against you.
At the end of the day, the goal isn't simply becoming debt-free. The goal isn't simply having savings. The goal is building a financial system that creates freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom from constant payments, freedom from living paycheck to paycheck. Freedom to make decisions based on opportunity instead of desperation. Debt and savings are not just financial tools. They're forces pulling your future in different directions. Understanding the real math behind them can be the difference between staying stuck and building lasting wealth. The sooner you put that math on your side, the faster your financial future begins to change.